Mr Evans, and it's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. I want to start my contribution by thanking the House of Commons Digital Engagement Service for its work on this debate. It has engaged on Facebook with voters to great effect. Between the 15th and the 23rd of April, the post that the service placed on Facebook was seen by 29,448 accounts, had 7,936 clicks and 1,803 engagements. Of those engagements, 496 were Facebook users who wanted to comment on the issue. This level of response clearly demonstrates, Mr Evans, that there is a lot of interest in this issue. Indeed, such is the interest that the debate is being streamed live on the House of Commons Facebook page. I also need to say that I have been impressed by the quality of the insights made on the post and humbled by the numbers involved. Can I take this opportunity to thank all those who have taken the time to share with us their thoughts on PR on Facebook. In trying to do justice to the online discussion, I can do no better than to start by admitting that I have, for many years, remained stubbornly resistant to the arguments made for proportional representation, but no longer. Recent events have forced me to rethink my stance. In other words, I am happy to admit I was wrong to defend first past the post for so long. My epiphany came in the wake of the 2017 election, when it became painfully obvious that the current electoral system is no longer fit for purpose. This was the third general election in a row in which our voting system failed to secure the strong, stable government that we all see as its key strength. It gave the Tories just under 50% of the seats available, with 42% of the vote. And according to the Electoral Reform Society, 22 million voters had no impact on the result because they remained loyal to their tribe, despite knowing there was no chance whatsoever of securing victory for their candidates. Indeed, many of the online respondents felt despondent and angry that living in a safe seat could mean that their vote counts for nothing. As Jamie, one respondent, said, no one could possibly condone a system that essentially makes hundreds of thousands of voters redundant, and even worse, reinforces the feeling of apathy that puts many people off from participating in the political process in the first place. On the other hand, 6.5 million voters decided to vote tactically in order to empower their choices, to give themselves a small but nevertheless important opportunity to help shape the outcome of the election. This situation was summarised beautifully by one of the contributors to the Facebook page, Adrienne, who said, and I quote, "I would like a proportional representation system so that I could vote for the party whose policies I agree with. At the moment, my choice is either to vote tactically for a party I don't want, but whose policies I object to less, or to waste my vote on the party I like. I live in a safe seat and can't ever see my preferred party being successful." I think this question is more pertinent than ever following the political mess that has been Brexit. I have lost all faith that my voice will be heard in the current system. At this point, many of you will be thinking, yes, we've always argued that the current voting system is unfair, and would, quite fairly, accuse me of having remained willingly blind to its iniquities. All I can say is that I have believed throughout my adult life that first past the post is justifiable because it promises strong government and a democratic basis for the implementation of the winning party's manifesto. But as I have already conceded, the key defence of first past the post has crumbled and it's no longer credible. And it is the reasons why this is the case which have led to my road to Damascus moment. 3 elections in a row, all failing to deliver strong government. But why? Why? What is going on? Let's start with the deep and ongoing crisis afflicting the 2 biggest political parties. Brexit is seen by many as the cause of this, but I would contend that it is in itself a symptom of a newly emboldened populist discourse which has fractured our politics. As a consequence, both the Tory party and the Labour Party are now struggling with widening ideological divides, which threaten to become an existential threat. This development is important because in a two-party system, voters need to be sure the party they support is capable of delivering the realistic, pragmatic politics vital to the effective government of the country. There is a strong sense now that both the major parties are failing to maintain an approach to policy making based on consensus, both within the party and with the electorate, because the broad churches they represent are evaporating in the face of a blistering assault from the far reaches of the right and the left. What we face, in fact, is a serious and possibly terminal decline in the ability of the two major parties to process political options, to sift them and present them as a meaningful choice at an election. No wonder then that long-term trends in voting behaviour are indicating the case for reform of the voting system, and that that case is getting stronger, not weaker. Of course.
I thank the Honourable Lady for giving way. She's making some powerful points, but would she not agree that the only time that the British National Party ever has been elected in a system of government was in proportional representation from the Hont system in the last European elections in 2004, previously?
I don't intend to go through the different models available for PR. I'm establishing the principle, but I do believe that there are models of PR available that prevent the accession of small extremist parties into a parliamentary system. And I think Germany has such a system, for example. For example, the recent British Social Attitudes Survey found that only 8% of voters identify strongly with a political party. Polling also regularly reports not only diminishing support for the two parties, but a sense that none of the above is an increasingly attractive choice for British voters. This is best expressed in terms of by turnout, which has gradually reduced. In 1950, for example, 84% of voters cast their preferences at the ballot box. In the 2017 election, the turnout was 68%. Other evidence provides firm evidence that voters are losing confidence in our representative democracy. IPPR's report on the 2015 election established that less than half of 18 to 24-year-old voters, 18 to 24-year-olds voted, as compared to nearly 80% aged 65 and over, and that's a worrying trend. The past 30 years has also seen the emergence of a dramatic divide in terms of how people vote, especially as far as the age demographic is concerned. The evidence is clear. Voters are demonstrating an increasing sense that they no longer trust the two main parties to manage the democratic process. Let me elaborate on this just a little. Both Labour and the Tories have traditionally held a huge responsibility under first past the post. In an electoral process which offers only limited opportunities to change the political colour of a constituency, we have relied on the two major parties to provide candidates capable of taking on the coveted role of Member of Parliament, and to provide a well-thought-through programme for government, one that is realistic and which promises to meet the needs of the country. But increasingly, there is a feeling that both parties are failing to take these responsibilities seriously, to the extent that voters are no longer content to be managed by political parties. They increasingly seek plurality so that they can sift for themselves a range of the policy choices available in any given election. Voters no longer want to be patronised by the democratic process. They want to be empowered by it.
I'm grateful to the Honourable Lady for giving way, and I very much commend her on her speech and the candour and force with which she makes her points. This is true also, though, not just of national government, but also at local government. And can I offer to her the example of local government in Scotland, where since 2007, councils have been elected under the single transferable vote, where we have seen the end of the single-party monoliths across Scotland, and it has been absolutely rejuvenating for local democracy in Scotland.
I completely accept the right honourable members, my right honourable friend's point, and restricted this debate to Westminster. But that does not mean, of course, that I don't believe that the principles do not apply to local government as well, because I think they do. Our voting system offers a 19th century system that is unfit for the 21st century. As one of the respondents on the Facebook page accompanying this debate said, it acts as a straitjacket, denying voters the multiplicity of choices they crave. Another, Benny, commented that PR would make sure that every vote counts, enabling all voters to feel more involved in the democratic process. If we are serious about changing our politics, then we must start with how we elect our Parliament. We need reform to ensure fairness and integrity in the electoral process, and this means acknowledging the case made by events in the last few years for a more pluralistic system which gives back control to voters. Of course.
The lady for giving way, and I congratulate her on securing this debate. I think it's a very important debate. But could she tell us which system she actually favours? There's a number of systems you can use, but it'd be very interesting to know the one that appeals to her.
What I will say in response to my honourable friend's question there is that I do not favour a system that removes the constituency link. We have to have a system which keeps the constituency link in place. The AV referendum, for instance, I think one of the reasons it failed was because it's not proper PR. We need proper PR, but we need the constituency link. And I actually think that if we win approval in Parliament for implementing a new PR system, then we should start the process of establishing a proportional system by holding deliberative discussions, citizens' assemblies across the country to develop the right option for our country. And that's the way that we should do this. So I'm not going to say which system, one or the other, that I want to see at the moment. That's not for me to decide. I think the country has to decide which system suits us best. And I think that's the best way of approaching the implementation of a change in the voting system. So as I was saying, we need a more pluralistic system which gives back control to voters. That is what the democratic process is about. The days of patronising voters and managing their choices for them are over, and we need to recognise that. No longer can excuses be made to avoid change. Indeed, every new legislature created by this Parliament uses some form of PR. Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland and the London Assembly all use proportional systems. STV, Mr Evans, is even used to elect the deputy speakers of this House. I am convinced change is coming. It is overdue, and I apologise for my tardiness in acknowledging the strength of the PR argument. But nevertheless, better late than never. Let's get on with it. Thank you.